Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be discussing why you should consider farming. In a presentation by Ryan Dagner, Janessa Doctor, Taya Fiveland, Jordan Chris, that's me, and Mia Spreen.
Here is a brief outline of our presentation. We will start with an introduction, discuss our project, including Young Agrarians and Colby Peterson, and our videos. We will then discuss farming, including regenerative and sustainable aspects.
Introduction. So we are a group of university students taking an environmental class, more specifically applications in sustainability. Prior to the first day, we all chose this project of why should you consider farming, as we all resonated with the importance of farming and we're all excited to use a social media platform to educate an audience about farming. In this project, we were fortunate enough to work with Young Agrarians and more specifically, the Young Agrarians Alberta Apprenticeship Program Coordinator, Colby Peterson. Colby is actually an alumnus of Augustana with a Bachelor of Science majoring in Environmental Studies. It is Colby's job to pass on her knowledge of farming to the next generation, which is exactly what she did for us.
During this project, we were partnered with the Young Agrarian Organization. This charity-based organization aims to promote the connectivity of the new generation of farmers to each other and to the land. They are a farmer-to-farmer educational resource network for new and young farmers with a lens on ecological, organic, and regenerative agriculture in Canada. Although Young Agrarians originated in BC, they have since expanded to Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Young Agrarians primarily targets individuals aged 20 to 40 who value food, community, agriculture, and the environment in an effort to help this new generation of farmers succeed. That being said, they still welcome people of all ages, helping and encouraging farmers who are interested in sustainable farming.
Our project was assigned as a broad topic with the main idea being to promote farming through a social media lens. We had to learn about the importance of farming and create social media content to post to educate an audience about farming. With this, we had to decide which social media platform would be best to convey the information. We ultimately decided as a group and with Colby that Instagram videos would be beneficial because of the amount of information we wanted to deliver. Having the video format allows for a better chance at engagement with the content when compared to posts. We also chose Instagram because it's very accessible and user-friendly. We decided that the goals of our project were to obtain a better understanding of farming so we could convey that knowledge in a more personalized manner, promote young agrarians as they work to improve agricultural sustainability and help farmers succeed, and overall discuss the advantages of farming and why it is so important. Check out the Young Agrarians Instagram page that's linked to the bottom of this slide.
For our project, we decided to do 5 videos that would teach our audiences about regenerative farming and the sustainability aspects. Our main ideas were as follows: introduction in regenerative farming, land opportunities and social aspects of farming, misconceptions in gender, farming is a diverse and self-fulfilling practice, and finally, young agrarians and what they can offer. We envisioned a Bill Nye the Science Guy type of video with Ryan, Janessa, and Taya doing an on-the-farm portion, and Mia and I doing a section having us in the library to deliver information and important statistics. To give you a better idea of what our video entails, here's the first one.
Hey, come closer. Welcome to my farm. I'm Janessa, and I'm here with Taya and Ryan. You know, most people think farming's just raising livestock or harvesting crops, but man, do I disagree.
You ever heard of Young Agrarians?
No, I haven't. What does that even have to do with farming?
They're an organization that advocates for regenerative farming.
Regenerative farming? What does that even mean?
Regenerative farming is farming that improves the resources it uses rather than destroying or depleting them.
So this type of farming must adapt to climate change, protect the soil, and improve the water cycle?
Yes, exactly. It's a means to a more sustainable and self-sufficient environment.
Anyway, thank you for sticking around for this episode of On the Farm, and we'll let Mia and Jordan take it from here.
Hey, I'm Mia.
And I'm Jordan.
As the others mentioned, the stats around farming need more awareness.
That's right. I recently found out that in 1930, 31% of Canadians were farmers, but in 2016, that dropped to only 1.57%.
Wow, that's quite the change. I also learned that only 1 in 12 farmers in Canada have a written succession plan, as fewer and fewer farmers have family members willing to take over their farms.
So maybe if there are more people willing to become farmers, there may be more opportunities for them to take on someone's farm.
Actually, we will be talking about this in our next video. See you soon! As previously discussed, regenerative farming is one of the primary ideas we wanted to discuss in our videos. Regenerative farming moves to mitigate or adapt to climate change, rebuild and protect soil organic matter, and improve water cycle. Overall, it is a method of farming that improves the usage of resources rather than destroying or depleting them. Some practices of regenerative farming include zero tillage, as this minimizes soil erosion and increases soil fertility. This can stop desertification and increase carbon sequestration. Mob grazing, another important aspect of regenerative farming, includes moving cattle daily between small paddocks. With mob grazing, the density of cattle in a paddock is higher, allowing for each plant in the paddock to either be bitten or stepped on. This allows for an even playing field for every plant when it is time to grow plants in the paddock. Additionally, cover crops are planted to cover the soil, also ameliorating the soil health. Cover crops are also extremely helpful in desert areas, and crops have a greater chance of surviving by minimizing their exposure to the sun and water evaporation. Finally, manure management. With proper manure management systems, farmers can take advantage of and extend the benefits of manure without polluting the environment. Some of the benefits include increased soil carbon and reduced atmospheric carbon levels, reducing nitrate leaching, and reduced fertilizer usage. All in all, regenerative farming leads to a more sustainable and successful farm.
Sustainability is another very important aspect when it comes to farming. Sustainable farming means nurturing healthy ecosystems and supporting the sustainable management of land, water, and natural resources while ensuring there's enough food in the world for everyone. For farming to be sustainable, agriculture must meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs, while also ensuring profitability, environmental health, and social and economic equity. As you may know, farming affects everyone, and the food you eat every day has all been influenced by farming, since farming is the main source of our food supply. Additionally, food will continue to be influenced by farming, so it's very important to ensure that sustainable practices are being implemented. With sustainable farming, we're able to ensure there's enough food for everyone by generating food in an efficient manner. Sustainable farming also promotes soil health, while also reducing the reliance on fossil fuels, diminishing farming's contribution to greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. With our videos, we promote the ideas and the importance of sustainability. With sustainable farming comes farming, which produces higher yields, which is better for everyone.
All right, now that we know what sustainable farming is, let's discuss some ways you can farm sustainably and what benefits can arise from sustainable farming. To start, one example of sustainable farming practices is permaculture. Permaculture can be understood as the growth of agricultural systems in a self-sufficient and sustainable way. This method of agriculture draws inspiration from nature to develop farming systems based on crop diversity, resilience, natural productivity, and sustainability. In other words, systems like these are designed and applied to farming that are based on natural systems, allowing humanity to live in harmony with nature. Some examples of permaculture include hugelkulturs, garden beds, which can be seen on the slide, and growing crops without tillage. Another practice of sustainable farming is biodynamic farming. This method of farming encourages farmers to manage their farm as one living organism, where different species are intertwined, supporting each other's health. This kind of thinking allows for the creation of a resilient ecosystem that benefits the farmers as well as the living organisms.
Another way to farm sustainably is urban agriculture. Since many of us live in cities and many people plan to move to cities, it only makes sense to grow food closer to home. By growing food in a community garden or in your backyard, it reduces many environmental costs of the food we eat. For example, instead of buying tomatoes at the store, which have been grown in a huge field with the use of fossil fuels, water, pesticides, and fertilizers, by growing your own tomatoes, you can ensure a much more sustainable and environmentally friendly process. Polycultures and crop rotation are two more sustainable practices which mimic nature, resulting in higher yields. Polyculture farming involves growing multiple crops in the same area, which are often complementary to each other. Having high biodiversity allows for a system that is more resilient to weather fluctuations and applied natural mechanisms to preserve soil fertility. Crop rotation is a practice of growing different types of crops in the same area. This practice is one of the most effective agricultural control strategies that is used in preventing the loss of soil fertility. Through both polycultures and crop rotations, farmers can minimize the risk of disease and pests while also reducing the need for fertilizers and pesticides.
Implementing sustainable practices leads to many benefits of farming in terms of sustainability. Soil health is crucial for the development of crops, livestock, and humans. Regenerative farming practices such as adding these organisms to the soil, reducing tillage, and planting cover crops protects the quality and health of the soil. In terms of the carbon cycle, regenerative farming practices aim to sequester carbon in the soil and release less in the atmosphere. Lastly, regenerative farming encourages biodiversity. These farms create habitat for pollinators, native plants, and wildlife. Having a wide mix of microorganisms, plants, and animals helps to create a resilient system to decrease the need for chemical intervention. It also helps the soil remain healthy, which in turn keeps the crops healthy.
As we previously mentioned, regenerative farming has environmental benefits, but there are also economic and social benefits to consider as well. Economically, regenerative farming relies heavily on human labor, which means jobs. Additionally, studies show regenerative practices allow farmers to use a reduced amount of fertilizer and pesticides, which ultimately leads to a lower cost for farmers. Socially, individuals like you and I can take action by joining Young Agrarians. If you decided to join, you will get the opportunity to meet many other farmers who all have similar goals, such as farming more sustainably. You also get the chance to participate in the social events they host, such as their mixers, farmer-to-farmer learning events, and business boot camps. One last additional way to benefit from the social aspect of farming is to buy from local farmers, and therefore connecting with the food, the farmers, as well as building a sense of community.
Throughout our project, we learned many misconceptions about farmers and their farming practices. Some of the more common misconceptions we found are that farmers are uneducated, don't care about the environment, are primarily men, and that you need to grow up on a farm to be a farmer. While doing research on these misconceptions, we found a recent study conducted by Stats Canada which showed that the educational attainment of farmers has increased nearly 10% in the last 20 years. Studies have also shown that in the next generation of farmers are not just men, but rather women and young individuals who never grew up on a farm. A survey in 2015 concluded that 58% of new farmers in the last 5 years were women, while a 2015 survey from Canadian Food Studies showed that 68% of new farmers never grew up on a farm. One last misconception we found was that farmers do not care about the environment. Through our personal farm tour and research, we found many rules and regulations in place to ensure farmers are farming sustainably.
Now that you've heard the research we conducted and our knowledge on farming, we'll explain how exactly we gathered this information. Prior to our time working together, we each knew a little bit about farming, whether it be the sustainability aspect, the resources needed, or exactly what happens on a farm. That being said, we all conducted research to broaden our knowledge on the topic. To do this, we initially met with Colby and learned more about Young Agrarians and exactly what it is they do. Additionally, we were able to use the Young Agrarians website to understand how networking works and why initiatives such as Young Agrarians are important and needed. Aside from the information provided to us by Young Agrarians, we found credible articles and we were able to find more about regenerative farming as well as the sustainable practices implemented at farms and their importance. We also found information from previous censuses detailing the decline in farmers and the increasing amount of women involved in farming.
Ryan, Taya, and myself, Janessa, were fortunate enough to visit 2 farms to not only film the videos, but also talk with the farmers to hear some of their insight on farming. Once we had gathered enough information, we met up as a team and decided what would be in each video and how we should go about fitting everything together. During our group meetings, we quickly decided we wanted our first video to be an introduction to regenerative farming and why farming is so important. From there, we decided what information we should include in the rest of the videos.
Throughout our experience with this project, we were able to expand our knowledge not only on farming, but also on the exact reason why it needs more awareness. Not only do farmers contribute to the food that people eat across the globe, but farmers also play a huge role in the production of our clothes, help protect many species such as bees, and strengthen our economies. With less people invested in farming, many need to become more aware of the importance of farming. Perhaps this may encourage one of you guys to become more involved with farming. In terms of our goals, we all agree that we have successfully expanded our knowledge on farming throughout our research and personal experience. We have also focused on promoting young agrarians. Lastly, throughout the project, we have successfully promoted to educate others on the advantages of farming and why it is so important.
Finally, we would like to finish our presentation with some quick fun facts on additional farming practices that are being implemented. When we visited the farm, we learned a lot of important information on how dairy farms incorporate sustainable practices every day to reduce their impact on the environment. Some of these practices include the ProAction National Program, which holds Canadian dairy farmers to the highest standard possible in regards to the dairy they produce, as well as constantly improving animal welfare and environmental stewardship. To elaborate, the farm we are at had proper manure management as well as pasteurization. Pasteurizing, which is where the milk is heated to kill harmful bacteria, comes into play when a cow becomes sick as their milk cannot be consumed. In an effort to not waste any cow's milk, the tainted milk is run through the pasteurizer, allowing the milk to then be suitable for calf feeding. We were also shown the Environmental Action Plan, which identifies potential environmental concerns and highlights actions to improve them. Such concerns include climate change, biodiversity, energy efficiency, and water waste. Farmers must ensure their farm is up to date with these rules and regulations to ensure they are doing their best to help the environment. Another interesting farming practice we discovered involves monitoring cow health. GEA Cow Scouts are collars that can be worn by cows and provide information about the cow's health, such as the amount of physical activity the cow is getting, as well as information about if the cow is drinking properly. In other words, the GEA Cow Scout collar is the cow equivalent of a Fitbit.
Does anyone have any questions?